Dear student, I am Dr. Chandrakala HD. Hello and welcome to the video class on programming language using C. You will be learning structure of C program in this video. So this is the structure of a C program. C program is a collection of functions. So along with the functions, it contains several other sections which are going to add meaning and utility to the program. So it consists of firstly the documentation section. This is followed by link section, which is further followed by definition section. After definition section, we write global declaration section. After global declaration section, we write the main function. So as I told you, C is a collection of functions. So every C program should mandatorily have a main function. The main function will be coded inside the flower brackets. Inside these flower brackets, we write declaration statements and executable statements. After the main function comes the subprogram section, where we write the user-defined functions. Depending on the complexity of the function, you can have one or more functions. Hence, I have shown it as function 1, 2, so on up to function n. So now, in the further part of the video, we shall learn the meaning and need to write all these particular sections. We shall learn each section in detail next. So firstly, the documentation section. For any program, documentation is very important. The documentation section part of the program, it tells the details which are associated with the program, like what is the name of the program, what is the purpose of the program, who is the author of the program, and when this program was written on which date, so on and so forth. So all these details have to be written for every program, so that the program, even if it is read from somebody else, the details should be available for the reader of the program. So this is a sample example of documentation section. So we use comments in order to write documentation for the program. The single line comments always start with double front slashes like this. If you have multi-line comments, you can write the comments between slash star and star slash. So in the first line, the comment, multi-line comment will begin with slash star, followed by the lines of comments, and in the last line, the comment should end with a star slash. So comments are the most important feature of any program, because it serves as the documentation for that particular program. Second component of a program is link section. So the structure of C program consists of link section as its second part. As we have discussed in the features of C language, we all know that C provides a rich set of library functions. All these library function codes are available in header files of the system library. So in order to link these header files to your program, you have to write hash include statements in the link section. So an example hash include statement is hash include stdio.h. So the full form of stdio.h is standard input output header file. The header files will always have an extension .h in C language. So the standard input output header file consists of those built-in functions which are related to the inputting and outputting of data. Similarly, there is yet another header file called mat.h, which consists of mathematical functions like square root, cube root, ceiling, floor, value, so on. So these particular built-in functions, they are available in mat.h. If you are using those in your program, you have to include mat.h file by saying hash include mat.h. Since every program makes use of input and output functions, surely this hash include stdio.h appears in every C programs link section. The third section of the structure of C program is the definition section. So if at all you are using any constants in your program, you have to make use of you have to define those constants in the definition section using hash define keyword. So an example keyword constant, that is pi, is defined here. Hash defined pi equal to 3.14. So pi is defined as a symbolic constant, and the value of that particular pi remains constant throughout the program, and its value will be taken as 3.14. So if at all you are using such constants in the program, you have to define the definition section. The next part of the program is global declaration section. So the global declaration section is written in order to declare all the global variables. So global variables are those variables which are accessible throughout the program. Variables are generally used to give names to the data in the program. It's difficult for us to remember the values of the data. Hence, we will give symbolic names to them, meaningful names to them, and those become variables. So there are two types of variables which are used in programming languages: local variables and global variables. Local variables are accessible only within the function in which they are declared, whereas global variables are accessible across all the functions which are written in a program. So if at all any global variables are there, they have to be declared in the global declaration section. And also all the user-defined functions which appear in the program have to be declared in the global declaration section. So I've given two examples here. The first example is float area float r. So this is a user-defined function. The name of the function is area. It takes an input data radius. So that's a floating point data type. And also this function returns a floating type answer, which is going to be the area itself. Hence this declaration statement. Similarly, I am declaring a global variable a whose value is 7, and it's an integer value. It doesn't contain any fractional part. Next, we have the main function section. So every C program will have a main function mandatorily. The main function is the part where execution of C program begins. The main function always uses the keyword main, which is the name of the function, and it doesn't generally take any input values. Hence we have written void. Void indicates the empty data type, and here it returns an integer value. Hence we have written int main void. So this line is always followed by an opening flower bracket. Inside the flower bracket, we will write the declaration statements and executable statements. Declaration statements are used to declare local variables. So in this main function, I am declaring a local variable a and assigning a value 10. So it's an integer value, hence int a equal to 10. This is the declaration part. Next, we have an executable part where I'm going to print the value a on the screen. So this is an output statement which will be executed. This is the execution part. And then we have the return statement. As we have told, main is going to return an integer. I am going to write return 0 here. So whenever I use the return type for main function as int, I always write this return 0 statement. So this main function has a very simple task of only these 3 lines. So once all the tasks are completed, we will close the flower bracket. So whatever declaration part and execution part appears in the main function, they are always written within the flower brackets like this. So after the main function, we will have a subprogram section in which we will write user-defined functions which are additional to the main function. So if the program is a very simple program, we can write the entire program in the main function itself. But if it is a complex program, then we have to divide the tasks into functions and code them separately. Those functions become the subprograms or subfunctions. So one such example is a function to add two given numbers. So it takes two inputs, integer inputs A and B, and it will perform an addition A plus B and return back to the calling function. This A plus B is a single value which is an integer. So hence I have written the return type as int. So every function will have a return statement if its data type of return type is mentioned in the function definition line. So this was about the subprogram section. There can be multiple functions which can be written in the subprogram section. So now let's take an example program. This C program will find the area of a circle using the user-defined function. It makes use of pi as a global variable. Here you can make out that we have written certain comments using the symbol slash star and star slash. So whatever appears in between these symbols are called as comments. This forms the documentation section of the program. It consists of the file name, author name, date, description of the program, which gives the purpose of the program itself. So all these lines which appear in the documentation section are not part of the program. They are not executed by the compiler. They are only for the reference of the programmer himself. So after the documentation section, whatever comes further is the executable part of the program. So next we have the link section where we have written hash include stdio.h to link the header file standard input output to this particular program. So here in the program, we use the input statement scanf and output statement printf, and the definitions of these two functions are there in the standard input output.h header file. Now to link the codes for these two, we have used this hash include statement. Next, we have the definition section where we define symbolic constants. Here we are using a symbolic constant called pi, whose value is 3.14. It is a mathematically significant value. So in order to include it, we use the hash define statement in the definition section. This will be followed by the global declaration section. In this program, we don't use any global variable, but we are using a sub-program or user-defined function, that is the function area. So this we are going to declare in the global declaration section. This will be followed by the main function, int main function, open close bracket. So this is followed by the code of the main function, which is written within the flower bracket. Inside the main function, I'll declare a variable r to hold the radius. I'll ask the user to enter the radius by giving a prompt message, enter the radius, and whatever the user enters as a value of radius, that has to be taken and put into the memory location indicated by the variable name r, and that function is performed by scanf. So scanf takes the floating point value and puts it in the variable r. Ampersand r or and r indicates the address of the memory location r. And since it's a floating point value, we have to write %f as per the syntax of scanf. So once we have inputted the r value, we will call the function area and we will send it the radius value in order to compute the area of that particular circle. So area r is a function call statement. As soon as this statement is encountered, the control of execution goes to this part where we have written the function area. So whatever r I have sent here will be assigned to this particular variable r. And using that r, area will be computed area of a circle is given by pi r square. So I have written the mathematical statement pi into r. This value will be computed and this return statement will return back this value to this particular part of the main function. So once the control returns to the main function, this printf executes and it prints the answer as the area is, and this percentage f will be replaced with the return value of area r, that is 153.86 for a radius which was inputted as 7. So then we have the return 0 statement which ends the main function. So this is how um, the structure of C program can be analyzed using this particular example program. Thank you.